Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel here as we're going to be trying something new, something interesting hopefully for you guys. As you can see, I got actually a book in my hand. This is pretty cool. This was sent to me by good friend Phoenix Knight. We did a trade earlier this year. Traded a bunch of my stuff for him. He traded me a bunch of his stuff to me. And he sent me some extra stuff in the box as a thank you. So we appreciate that. One of the things he sent me was this, which I found very interesting. And I've been meaning to do something with this. Now this is an interesting story because if you've watched Phoenix Knight on his channel, you know that he likes story, he likes narrative, he likes being involved in the game and having things happen in the game. And this is basically a storybook where you're playing a character and going through the story. And I thought this would be right up his alley, but for whatever reason, he wasn't too interested in this, so he sent it to me, which is fine. So I'm going to try it out. I've played a game very similar to this not too long ago. Called Legacy of Dragonhold. I couldn't remember the name. The box is sitting over there in the corner. Legacy of Dragonhold, and where you take a character and you're basically reading through and going through the story and making decisions and blah blah blah. So, this is part of the Arkham Horror Investigators Gamebook series, and you can find out information about this if you just do a search for the Kingsport Metamorphosis. You will find the Arkham Horror webpage, and on that they'll have resources to stories that you can actually download and listen to and play. And I'm going to talk about this on my next WES show next Wednesday. I think it's a great resource that nobody knew about. I didn't know about it. But I was looking up information on this game, and that's how I came across it. Anyhow, one of the things they do have on the website is character sheets for the 3 characters that come in the game, or that are kind of built into the game. You can play any character you want to play, but if you want to play the 3 characters that come in the game, they have character sheets. And so we're choosing to become Lola Hayes, the actress. Starts with the willpower of 3, an intellect of 3, and a combat of 3. So 3, 3, and 3. We do need some 6-sided dice. We got a bunch of 6-sided dice. We got tons and tons of dice if we need dice. She has a health of 6, a sanity of 6. Resources, clues, and doom. I don't see anything listed there, so I'm assuming she doesn't have anything. As far as items go, she has something called the calling card. Once per adventure, choose to gain an ability mentioned in the entry of your choosing. So if the entry says, hey, if you have safe cracking, read paragraph blah blah blah. If you do not already have it, you may keep this ability for the remainder of the adventure. So basically, she can choose one time to say, yes, I have this ability, or I have this skill. I guess it would have to be an ability. And I think that's going to be super powerful, super helpful. As far as her abilities go, improvisation. Once per adventure, you may increase the skill of your choice by 1. But you must also decrease the skill by 1. You may use this ability more than once per adventure, But after the first time, you must spend 1 resource in addition to use this ability again. And her other abilities are Guardian and Quick-Witted. And what each of these do, I'm sure there's probably like a little thing in the book that shows you, like do this, do that, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But we're going to go through it and we'll see. Weaknesses, crisis of identity. Each time you spend a resource, roll a die. If you roll 1, you lose a sanity. So there's her weakness. Crisis of identity. So we're going to try and use the character that came with the game just to see how it goes. This is, again, the 3rd book in a series of game books that were created by this company. And so if you're interested in this, you might, you might want to look at some of these. Again, probably going to be some spoilers on this. So if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I might want to play that at some point, you might not want to watch this because obviously the more you go through, the more you see, the better I think you'll have an idea of what's going on, but you also will be spoiled on what's happening. Again, a lot of great resources at the Arkham Horror site. The other thing we got is music that I've got. I just typed into YouTube Arkham Horror music, and there's 2.5 hours of just random music that's going on. So hopefully it's not too loud, but hopefully it's loud enough to get the ambiance, because we're going to be reading through passages. Going to try and make this as thematic as we can, kind of make it as story driven as we can, and we'll see how it goes from there. So again, big shout out to Phoenix Knight for sending this to us. We appreciate it. It was, like I said, we did a trade earlier in the year, had a great time doing this. I sent him a bunch of stuff, he sends me a bunch of stuff, he sent me some extra stuff, which is super cool. And one of the things he included was this. So I've been meaning to do something with this. I'm going to turn the music off until we get into the actual gameplay. So let's sit back, relax, and understand what's going on here. We got the Kingsport Metamorphosis by Jonathan Green. This is, again, the Arkham Horror Investigators game book. Again, I'm going to say this one more time just to make sure it's perfectly clear. Spoiler alert, if you are planning on going through this adventure and you don't want anything spoiled, you don't want to know anything, I don't know. We're just going to start in the beginning and we're going to go and we're going to see how it goes. It could be an hour, could be 2 hours, we could be dead in 10 minutes. I have no idea, but spoiler alert, the more you hear ahead of time, the less you'll be able to experience it for yourself. So if you're interested in this and you want to find out about it, which I would highly recommend you do, because I think these books are very reasonably priced. This was $18.95, so less than $20. And you could probably play through this 2 or 3 different times. You're not going to see everything the first time. So we'll read the back cover just to give you, again, this is all new to me too. So I'm not usually the RPG guy. I enjoyed my time with Legacy of Dragonholt, and I would like to actually get back to playing that at some point. We had a character, we created a character for that, we role-played the character, we made decisions based upon that. Legacy of Dragonholt was a great time checking that out. So maybe I do enjoy these games more than I think. But anyways, let's read the back cover. It says, choose your investigator, choose your party, decide your fate. A thrilling, if odd, request brings the investigators of Arkham to the estates of wealthy recluse Elijah Hardcourt in the wretched town of Kingsport. Curious as to your mysterious hosts, Your excitement is dashed when you quickly discover Harcourt's purposes are not nefarious as you realized, leaving you as your guests trapped, each with a riddle to solve, to survive. As each hour passes, terrible fates meet your companions, forcing you to navigate a spiderweb of betrayal. Yet, as your investigations deepen, the true manifesto of calamity is revealed, wielding rituals with consequences intent on destroying the world. Choose wisely, investigator, for your dreams affect your sanity, and the path you choose might leave us all to a place of nightmares. Dun dun dun! Oh, hey, Phoenix Knight is here. I went back and watched the intro, and you have your wires crossed about why I sent it to you. I have an extra copy of it. Oh, okay, is an extra cop. Anyways, I appreciate Phoenix Knight sending this to me. And yeah, it was great. It was a great surprise. A lot of cool stuff that we traded. And another one of these, again, at one point on my channel, okay, let me start here. One point on my channel, and this is like a long time ago. All right, a long time ago on my channel, I was actually running a D&D campaign on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I had 5 Dungeons and Dragons campaigns on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with 5 different groups of players. And I thought, this is what I wanted to do, and blah, blah, blah. And after playing online and having people come in and out, and it got to be too much, eventually all the groups disbanded. One group was together for like a year and a half, and we played like every Tuesday night for like a year and a half until we finally decided to split up. Okay. So I have some RPG in my history. I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff, but I've never really been into it, like playing like role-playing games and stuff like that. I like being the dungeon master and seeing the story. I do like the story part of it. In fact, when I went to find out about the Kingsport Metamorphosis, there's actually books there that you can listen to on the website. And I started listening to one of the stories because I love the stories and I think they're so cool. If you like the Kingsport Metamorphosis, you can also find The Darkness Over Arkham and The Tides of Innsmouth in their line. Yeah, this is the 3rd book. We've talked about that. But those are the other 2. The Darkness Over Arkham and The Tides of Innsmouth. Innsmouth, yes. All right. So, without further ado, that was the back cover. Let's read the inside cover and just see what happens. Again, I'm new to this stuff. Yes, I do have some RPG background. It's been a long time. I don't really consider myself the RPG guy. I do enjoy stories. I do enjoy the, what's the word I'm looking for? I do enjoy seeing what happens. I enjoy making decisions and having this story unfold. I don't mind reading lots of pages. I don't mind any of that. So this might be right up my alley. So we'll see. Again, I played the Legacy of Dragonholt, which I thought was awesome. And the reason I stopped playing it was because I thought, this game is so good, I should send it to Phoenix Knight and not spoil it, because Phoenix Knight is our RPG guy. He is the guy that does this stuff. So, we'll see. Alright, so page 1, Arkham Horror. In the height of the roaring 20s, a fresh enthusiasm for art, science, and exploration of the past has opened doors to a wider world and beyond. And yet a dark shadow grows over the town of Arkham. Alien entities known as Ancient Ones lurk in the emptiness beyond space and time, writhing at the threshold between worlds. Occult rituals must be stopped and alien creatures destroyed before the Ancient Ones make our world their ruined dominion. Only a handful of brave souls with inquisitive minds and the will to act stand against the horrors threatening to tear the world apart. Will they prevail? Also available in Arkham Horror, The Drowned City, The Adventures of Alexandria Zolti, and the Arkham Horror Investigators game books, The Darkness Over Arkham, and The Tides of Innsmouth, which we just talked about. Okay. So that is kind of like the intro. I'm just going through the beginning here. This game was published in 2026, so it's brand new. And here we go. Greetings, investigator. So we're just starting right at the beginning just to see what happens. And now I'll turn the music back on. Let me know if the music is too loud or if it's too soft. Okay, just to kind of give you some background noise. Greetings, investigator. Welcome to Kingsport. By entering the pages of this investigation game book, you have taken on the role of one of the brave investigators caught up in the strange ongoings at Harcourt House in the mist-shrouded New England coastal town of Kingsport. I don't care about the copyright. They can copyright me all they want. If this is your first investigator game book, read on. If you played previous one of our investigator game books, turn to page 282 and read this section, continuing the adventure before you begin this game book. A game book is both a book and a game. Your choice will make, as well as your successes in testing your willpower, intellect, and combat, will determine the route you travel through the book, deciding victory or defeat in your attempts to unravel the unfolding mystery within. If you played other adventure game books outside of the investigator game book, you'll be familiar with the concept, but this is Kingsport, and a few things are a little different. So you want to read over the next few pages before your investigation begins. Unlike most other kinds of games, you don't need to learn the rules before you start to play, but you should embrace what it means to be an investigator to its fullest. Take note the names and locations and anything else that you might find Let me start again. Take notes of names and locations and anything else that you might find advantageous to yourself on your adventure. Some clues are obvious, while others are very obscure. If you're new to this type of adventure, you are simply eager to begin, you have the choice to bypass some of the following instructions and leap right in. This book presents the choice you will be required to make and the tests that you will face as you go along. However, if you're curious to understand the following complexities, there are a few things that you'll need before you start, and additional pointers it will prove useful to you to know. What you need. You will need some ordinary D6 dice. A couple is plenty, which we've already grabbed. Grab them now. Good work. You also need something to keep track of your investigator progress. You can use the character sheet on page 284 or a notepad and a piece of paper. You can also download character sheets from our website, https://acolytebooks.com. You'll need something to write with, and your investigators can both acquire and lose items such as clues, resources, health, sanity, items, and abilities over the course of the investigation. A pencil is ideal. Most importantly, you'll need to choose the investigator whose role you will be playing once you begin the adventure. Choosing the investigator. You can find investigator profiles of 3 investigators on pages 14 to 17. The psychic, Jacqueline Fine. The poet, Lucius Galloway, or the actress Lola Hayes. Each investigator's profile shows all of their skills, abilities, weaknesses, and items, as well as their starting health and sanity. Before you begin, you should copy over these to your character sheet or simply download the pre-filled out version of the character sheet for your chosen investigator from our website. There are also some additional investigators you'll find at downloadable characters on our website, but if this is your first time playing through an investigator game book, we recommend using one of the 3 investigators that came with this book first. Each of the investigators found in this game book have a unique introduction. However, if you choose to play as a character from a different investigation book or a character downloaded from the Aconite website, simply start your adventure at entry 1. As a reminder, you've already successfully completed an investigator game book. Make sure to review the section on game pages 282 that tells you how to continue your chosen investigator. Character sheets. Now that you have your character sheet, you are ready to begin. But first, it's useful to know a little more about the information your character sheet presents. Your character sheet represents you in the role of your chosen investigator. You are them from now on, and their fate is your fate. The character sheet tracks your progress through a number of game states and also provides spaces to record anything you pick up along the way, such as clue and resources. Skills, willpower, intellect, and combat. Each investigator has 3 skills: willpower, intellect, and combat. Throughout the adventure, you'll face challenges that test these skills in many different ways. When facing one of these tests, the entry in question will explain how to resolve it. Skills are represented by a number, and this number may occasionally change during your investigation. Health and sanity. These are 2 game stats describing your investigator's current physical and mental well-being. Like skills, they are represented by a number and tend to go down as the adventure goes on. In fact, they can go on into the negatives, although they can also go up. A lower health and sanity score will negatively impact your chances when faced with various challenges. Once your stats dip below 0, however, things will continuously be affected, and we urge you to reference your character sheet to account for those impacts. Try not to lose your mind, if you please. Abilities and weaknesses. Abilities and weaknesses represent special aptitudes or limitations particular to your chosen investigator. Most investigators start with a small number of each, and you may acquire other types of abilities and weaknesses as your investigation progresses. These abilities and weaknesses are represented by keywords which don't do anything by themselves, but which may trigger bonuses or penalties on other effects depending on the challenges you encounter during your adventure. You don't need to memorize your investigator's abilities and weaknesses. Instead, when an entry mentions an ability or weakness, you should check on your character sheet to see whether or not the effect described applies to you. Sometimes, however, you gain an ability or weakness as your investigation progresses. The mystery awaits you in Kingsport is not for the faint of heart and could rattle even the most hardened investigator, gifting you with proclivities such as haunted or arachnophobia that simply don't fade away. Yet great power and abilities can also be obtained if one has the fortitude and cleverness to earn them. These two, for good or for ill, do not simply disappear. Your investigations also start with a major ability and a minor weakness. You can only ever have one of each of these, and you can lose or gain them during the course of an adventure. These major abilities and minor weaknesses represent key aspects to your investigator's personality and give you each a special rule which makes playing the adventure unique to you and your character. They exist on your investigator profile. Doom. The deepening mysteries and their consequences impact just not just you, but the world around you. As Kingsport is beset with eldritch forces, the state of the environment shifts accordingly. Doom will appear as you further unravel the mystery contained within, representing a worsening state for humanity, but a more favorable one for the creatures and ancient ones that have taken control of the town. Obtaining Doom is most inadvisable. Try not to land the universe over the edge to the eldritch beings, please. Items are exactly what you expect. Various objects your investigator might carry with them and pick up along the way. For example, right now you might have a pencil, or you might have a six-sided dice. These items are keywords without any special properties, but which provide useful in certain situations over the course of the adventure. Most investigators possess one starting item representing an especially useful or cherished personal item that can be found on their investigator profile, which also provides you with a special rule that may prove useful at any point in the adventure. These items are specific to that particular investigator and cannot be lost, transferred, or gained. Hi Barbara, how are you? Good to see you. As mentioned, other items can be found and collected during your investigation in Kingsport, but you might stumble across other items unless they are noted, like your pencil, alas, cannot be picked up. Record items you pick up on your character sheet, but select them with caution. Some items may be useful to frighten away horrific creatures, while others might crumble the sanity you hold dear. Power corrupts, as we are told. Clues and resources. We are going through the Kingsport Metamorphosis given to us by the great Phoenix Knight, which we appreciate, earlier this year in a trade that we did. Clues and resources. As an investigator, you are hopefully going to uncover lots of clues along the way, as well as pick up resources that can help you out when things get tough. Investigators begin with 0 clues and 0 resources, but can acquire them over the course of the adventure. When you acquire a clue or a resource, mark a tally mark in the relevant box on your character sheet. There will be times when you have the opportunity to spend a clue or resource to make some test or puzzle you face a little bit easier. If you choose to do so, strike out the appropriate number of tally marks in your character sheet, or reference your investigator profile for investigator-specific abilities regarding spending clues or resources. I am good. Would you like me to share here the Discord for Payoff Pitch Game Plus, guys? If you want to put that in there, that's fine. I don't mind. That's fine, Barbara. In fact, I want to change you to be an admin, Barbara. So you should be able to. Let's see. How do I add you? Add as moderator. You should be able to be a moderator now, Barbara, so you can add things and boot people and do all the fun, cool things. All right, secrets. Lastly, as you progress, you may discover secrets. You will find a list of these at the end of the game book. Where you find a secret, mark it off the list. You may mark off secrets you discover across multiple paragraphs. If you're reading this in an ebook, you will have to keep track of the secrets you uncover elsewhere. Super secrets are almost listed at the end of the game book. They are awarded by finishing the investigation with certain items in your possession or having marked off various secrets. Remember, Kingsport is a place of cryptic mysteries. Clues and secrets may be found where you least expect them, especially in any correspondence you might come across. Thanks, Barbara. Appreciate it. That's great. I might have to jump on that and leave some messages and some screenshots. Ready to begin. We certainly hope so. This is not going to be easy, but finding the courage to begin is the hardest part. From here on, your chances are going to be decided by the choices you make and the path you choose to follow, not to mention the skills and a little bit of luck. This game bus consists of individual numbered entries based on your choice or your success in various tests, challenges, and puzzles. You'll be introduced to move to a specific number at the end of each step. If you're ready to begin, turn the page, read the prologue for your chosen investigator, and good luck. The fate of mist-wrenched Kingsport, and the world is in your hands. Alright, so we've already decided to play Lola Hayes. So we have to read the introduction for Lola, which is going to actually, this is kind of cool. Each of the three investigators has their own kind of special intro before you actually start the game, which is kind of cool. So we're playing as Lola Hayes, the actress. As an accomplished actress, you can transform yourself into anyone. A dutiful daughter, the tragic lover, the queen betrayed. The roles change, but the mask never falters. Yet after the stage lights have dimmed and the applause of the audience is no more than a remembered echo, you have begun to wonder how much of yourself remains once the curtains fall. You first encountered the name Kingsport, not in a script, but in an overheard whisper, spoken on stage by an actor who had no recollection afterward of doing so. Since then, the town has haunted your thoughts. So when a letter arrived from one Elijah Harcourt inviting you to visit his home in Kingsport, you decided it might be nice to have a break from performing and distract yourself with whatever awaits you on this misty seaside town. As you come to the coast, you can't help but wonder if perhaps you're about to take on one of the most important roles of your life. Now turn to number 1. Dun dun dun! I like this Arkham Horror storybook. Yeah, it's the Kingsport Metamorphosis by Jonathan Green, and it's part of the Arkham Horror Investigator gamebook series. I think I think I'm gonna like this. We're gonna check it out. So paragraph 1 starts the adventure. Here we go. We got the music, ambience going on. Alright, here we go. The town of Kingsport sits in the mouth of the Miskatonic River, where the water empties into the Atlantic Ocean, bracketed by the scenic cliffs that ring the bay below. Most impressive of these cliffs is Kingsport Head, a large rocky peninsula connected to the mainland by a long causeway. The cliffs, like the seaside destination of South Shore and the Kingsport Caverns, draw visitors from all over New England. But you're not here to see the sights. Something else that Kingsport is famous for are the mists. Those are logical and science-bent as... start again. Something else that Kingsport is famous for are the mists. Those of logic and scientific bent assert that the cliffs create a geological feature, a vast natural bowl that traps the moist air required for the low-lying clouds to form. Others, from a much more fancier deposition, imagine the mist to have some impossible outworldly origin. What is an indisputable fact, however, is that the slow, swirling sea fogs are certainly sluggish when it comes to leaving the town streets, and there are many local legends associated with them. But it is not the mist nor the legends that have brought you here on this day either. Arriving in town, you take a moment to consider the forbidding shape of Kingsport Head and the coiling mists lingering within the town's streets and alleyways, to reflect on what had really brought you here to this place at this time. You take the letter from your pocket and read it for the umpteenth time. It addresses to you personally and has been written in a looping, spidery hand. I trust this letter finds you in sound mind and good health. For what I must impart, you will require both. Although we have not met, nor, I suspect, have you heard my name, I have followed your pursuit with great interest and a sense of inevitable convergence. Circumstances most particular and urgent compel me to request your presence at Harcourt House, on the cliffs overlooking the south shore of Kingsport. You will arrive, I hope, during the autumn equinox at precisely 7 o'clock in the evening. As I approach my 6th decade, and through the years have taken their toll upon me, it is not age that troubles me now. It is memory, and I return of things I had long thought buried. Matters long dormant now stir in the darkness, and I fear they are not content to remain in the shadows any longer. I believe you, of all people, possess the necessary faculties to comprehend and perhaps confront what must be brought into the light. This invitation is not extended lightly. Come alone. Bring no companions. Tell no one. What I must reveal must remain unspoken to the uninitiated, lest they too fall prey to what lies beyond the borders of this world. We will meet at my home at the allocated hour. In utmost confidence, Elijah Harcourt. Richard Kerr, good evening to you, my friend. Good to see you. If you're just joining us, we are going through the Kingsport Metamorphosis by Jonathan Green. This is part of the Arkham Horror Investigators game book. We are in the very first chapter as we read through this. We are just arriving to Kingsport from this mysterious letter. And we have some ambience in the background. Let me know if the music is too loud or if it's just right, or if I can turn it up a little bit or turn it down a little bit. If it's too loud, let me know. Considering you have no idea who Elijah Harcourt is or why he wants your help, and having several hours to wait while... Let's start again. Considering you have no idea who Elijah Harcourt is or why he wants your help, and having arrived several hours to while await before you're expected at Harcourt House, you decide to spend the time wisely. You want to see what you can find out about this man before you meet him for the first time. But where do you search for information? The Central Hill neighborhood of Kingsport is where a visitor will find buildings rich steeped in history, while some of them dating from the Revolutionary era, if or not before, while the wealthy elite of the town are weary of strangers turning up at their doorstep unannounced. It is here that could connect with the numerous working class people who break their backs from Kingsport's wealthy citizens and who might be willing to share what is going on behind the closed doors lining Central Hill. Kingsport Harborside is an example of the quintessential New England docks and is where the mist that plagues the town is thickest. Several drinking establishments can be found among the weather-worn warehouses that proliferate in the area. They are frequented by sailors as well as the local dock workers and are doubtless a hotbed of gossip. The South Shore community, on the other hand, is where you will find the arts and entertainment district. The boardwalk has an electrical carousel as well as games and food stands, but it's also where you will find wandering psychics, mediums, and clairvoyants, the kind who will tell your fortune if you cross their palm with silver. Which part of town do you want to visit to find out more about Elijah Harcourt? If we want to go to Central Hill, we turn to page 51. If we want to go to Harborside, 131. If we want to go to South Shore, that's 211. And if you guys, I know Phoenix Knight, when he runs his games, he also keeps the chat involved. If you guys have think what Lola Hayes should do, Central Hill is again the kind of the uppity, rich section with steeped in history all the way back to the Revolutionary era. It's the wealthy end of town. They don't necessarily like strangers showing up at their doorsteps, but you can talk to the numerous working class people that breaks their backs, helping the wealthy citizens of the town. So that is Central Hill. Harborside is the docks, where the mist is the thickest. There are drinking establishments, and we're going to probably run into some sailors and some dock workers and gossip, drinking and gossip. And then the South Shore is where you will find the arts and entertainment district. It's got an electric carousel and games and food. But you can also find psychics, mediums, and clairvoyants, which can tell you your fortune. So if anyone has any suggestion where we should go or where we should start to find out about this Elijah Harcourt, if any, and I'll give you guys just a second, and if not, I'm going to just make a decision. All is perfect with the music. Nice. Oh, good. Alright, I'm going to go with the... Let's go with the South Shore. Because I have a feeling like running across a medium or psychic or clairvoyance might give us some kind of mystical abilities. So that is page... or number 211. So we're going to 211. All right. So we're going to go to the South Shore. South Shore is Kingsport's art and entertainment district. Although you would be forgiven for mistaking it for the kind of seaside destination found in a dozen towns up and down the New England coast. Chock full of boardwalks, eateries, and other tourist trap. That said, the boardwalk has plenty to recommend it, with such standout landmarks as an electric carousel and a bustling artist scene where one might meet the next up-and-coming legend. It also hosts traveling carnivals, which allegedly clairvoyants practice palmistry and crystal gazing, all in return for a silver dollar, of course. The boardwalk is not as busy as it would be during the summer months, but there is still an air of fun here as the fall season closes in. Still, with so many of the inhabiting South Shore beings out of town like yourself, you're not convinced that it was your best idea to come here after seeking information about Hardcourt House. Instead, it becomes a diverting way to spend the time until you make your way to the mansion at the specified hour. Who remembers what time we're supposed to... If you're paying attention, I read it. What time were we supposed to be there? Does anybody remember? I remember. I thought I remember. Dun dun dun. Is anybody who's paying attention? Anyone out there paying attention besides me? All right. She takes hold of her hand. Let's see. In that frame of mind, you decide to call on one of the visiting psychics. Although you don't expect anything useful to come of the experience, choosing a garnished tent with the sandwich board outside declared it as a temporary residence of Madame Azidwa Oracle. You put yourself inside a purple velvet curtain and step inside. An elderly woman wrapped in various shawls sits in an armchair draped with silk scarves on one side of a small round table. She invites you to sit in the meager stool opposite her. When you have crossed her palm with a prerequisite piece of silver, she takes hold of your hand with her bony finger and runs yellow nails across the crevices of your palm. After what feels like a strongly long time for her not to speak, you prompt her with the grunted, "Well?" Her black beady eyes meet your gaze, and then she speaks at last, her accent sounding like it originated from somewhere in Eastern Europe. However, you wonder if it is all part of an act. "You have been summoned to the House of Dreams, to the Cave of Nightmares." She pauses, turning your hand over. "Hardcourt House," you say to her, hoping for confirmation, but she waves your question away with a gesture of annoyance. "The spinner in darkness awaits. 7 have been called. The ritual has already begun. But your fate?" She scowls again, re-examining your lifeline. "I cannot see." "That's it?" you ask her, feeling a curious combination of annoyance and uncertainty. Part of you feels like you've been ripped off, but another part of you can't help wonder whether or not she's relaying to you a molecule of truth. Gain 1 clue. Dun 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 dun. We have gained 1 clue. "Now go," she tells you. "We are done." Seeing little point of arguing, you exit Madame Zawaldi's tent and find yourself standing in front of a hall of mirrors. Would you like to distract yourself by visiting the Hall of Mirrors? Turn to page 247. If you prefer to be on your way, turn to page 150. We gained a clue. That's a good start. Do we want to distract ourselves by going into the Hall of Mirrors? You never know, like this, you could go there and you could find like an item that's like hidden inside the mirror, so you could go in there and drive yourself insane. It's all random. Like, you just have to make the best decision you can make for your character. And I think after witnessing what we just had with Mademoiselle Zira Oracle, I say we cut our losses and head right out to page 150. Let's not deal with the Hall of Mirrors. And this, again, if you out there, if you're listening and you want to go to the Hall of Mirrors, type that in the comments right now. Or the most fun decision that makes you go insane or die in the most hysterical way possible. Yeah, that's another possibility. That is absolutely another possibility. If you want us to go in the Hall of Mirrors, you say so. I'll give you 10 seconds. Otherwise, we're going to bypass and we're going to number 150. But if somebody really wants us to go to 150 or wants to go to the Hall of Mirrors, speak now or forever hold your peace. Time's up. All right. So we're going to cut our losses. We're going to head out to page 150. Oh my God, it's 4 pages of text. Oh boy, here we go. So we're probably going to arrive at the manor here. Let's see what happens. You are intrigued as to why Elijah Harcourt has so empathetically in his letter that you should arrive at his house at 7 p.m. You certainly don't want to be late, but you look for a cab to take you there. Fortunately, your search doesn't take too long, and soon you are leaving the district, bouncing along a tear-marked road that zigzags left and right as you head up to the cliffs that loom over Kingsport. Pulling up outside a set of iron blacked gates, your driver announces, "This is the place, Harcourt House." As you step out, you glance at the large mansion with a flicker of unease. "Not many folks go there, and with good reason," he mutters quietly. "Old Harcourt House, plenty of stories, none that would do much good." Unsettled by the comments, you nod but say nothing else. After you paid the fare, the cabbie revs his engine and peels away without asking if you want to be picked up later. You watch the departed automobile, noting how a thin mist has begun creeping in the road towards the house. With a shudder, you turn to press open the gate of Harcourt House, and you take your way along the gravel driveway that leads to the white-walled mansion sitting between an avenue of evenly spaced red maple trees. The atmosphere is calm and solemn. As your shoes crunch the gravel beneath them, the mist drifts away. As your shoes crunch the gravel beneath them, the mist drifts across the well-kept lawn as if a mind of its own, softening the edges of the mansion's white wall as it gathers in slow-moving curls. Climbing the steps of the porch, you ring the bell. A few moments later, a great black lacquered door opens, and a butler, a short but stocky man with a shallow complexion, his dark hair slickened back with a generous application of pomade, admits you to the house just as a grandfather clock somewhere within marks the time with 7 long chimes. Da-dum, da-dum. Behind him, a pair of housemaids make themselves scarce. From the expensive front hall, the butler, who you think must be in his 50s, guides you to the parlor where you find 6 other guests already gathered. There are 4 men and 2 women, and they all regard you with judgment and suspicion, apart from a tall, gaunt, Afro-American gentleman, appeasingly dressed in a well tutored gray suit. He steps forward and offers you his hand while piercing down at you through the Prince Nez glasses perched on the end of his nose. "Pergamon Ward," he says, shaking your hand firmly. "Personal attorney of Mr. Harcourt, and you are?" You introduce yourself as Lola Hayes and take up and hang on a second. You introduce yourself as Lola Hayes, then take up yourself to formally introduce yourself to everyone else present. The first is a young woman in her 20s, Isabel Harcourt. Okay, somebody's got to write down some notes for me here. Isabel Harcourt, 20-year-old woman. You're supposed to be taking notes because all this information is going to come back. Which is your host's niece. Pale with angular features, her dark hair worn in a fashionable bob, the dress she is wearing is modest but elegant. Although you detect subtle hints of rebellion in her attire, namely the scarlet scarf wrapped loosely around her neck, and the cigarette holder she is balancing between the index and middle finger of her right hand. Next is Professor Otto Varnum. Professor Otto Varnum, who is complete contrast to Miss Hargrove in every way. Heavy set with thinning gray hair and deep-set eyes. His tweed three-piece suit is outdated and screams academica, as does the faint smell of dust and old books that seem to hang around him. You are not surprised to learn that he is a historian with a lecturer position at Miskatonic University in Arkham. A ragged and suntanned man steps forward to make your acquaintance, bypassing the diminutive, bespectacled Hispanic woman you thought you were going to meet next. "Horace Trentholm," he says, trapping your hand in a crushing grip. "Explorer and adventurer. Certainly the weather-beaten leather jacket he is wearing and the bulging satchel he carries over his shoulder will attest to that, as do his rough beard and sharp eyes. Where Totem is possessed of confidence swagger, the bespectacled woman radiates social awkwardness and blushes when the two of you are introduced. She struggles to maintain eye contact, her gaze continually straying off to the toes of her sensible shoes. Short, wiry, and with round speckled perches on her nose, she is wearing a purple button cardigan and a long gray skirt. "Dr. Cora Bellwether," she says, "zoologist with a particular interest in arachnida. Arachnida? Arachnidh. Arachnidina? I'm not sure. Last is a man in his 40s. Everything about him gives the impression that he is one successful individual for whom things have not gotten well of lately. Clearly, once handsome, he appears to now be haggard with sunken eyes and a ghostly complexion. Likewise, his suit is clearly tailored to when he had seen better days. "This is Luther Harrow," Ward announces. "Mr. Harcourt's personal physician." "Pleased to meet you," Harrow says. As you shake the doctor's hand, you do detect a slight tremor. You wonder why, because someone like a qualified doctor would need to feel nervous in such company. He seemed to be almost as socially awkward as Dr. Bellwether, and looks like he stopped taking care of himself about a long time ago. You only hope he takes better care of his patients. "How much longer are we going to have to wait, Not?" Ward asked the butler, who was just hovering outside the parlor in the hallway. "Mr. Harcourt will be ready for you shortly," the butler replied stubbornly. Having summarily introduced you to everyone, Ward takes Isabel Harcourt by the arm and leads her to the corner of the room, where the two soon engage in an intense, whispering conversation. Professor Vordum sidles over to the drinks trolley to refill his whiskey glass. Dr. Harrow joins him there, leaving Trenholm and Dr. Bellwether together in the middle of the room. Still wondering why you have been summoned to this gathering, and preferring not to be excluded from the group, you decide to impose yourself upon one of these pairs. So we have to decide which one of these groups do we want to talk with. So the three groups are Ward and Isabel Harcourt, Professor Vardum, and Dr. Harrow, and then Trenholm and Dr. Bellwether. So we have to decide which one of these groups do we want to hang out with, or which one do we think we can get some information off of. And of course, trying to figure out who these characters are, what they're going to be doing. Horace Trenholm is the explorer and adventurer. Dr. Bellwether is the zoologist with a particular interest in arachnida. Ward is Isabel Harcourt is the girl, the young girl. Why would her and Peregrine Ward? Who is Peregrine Ward? Okay, Peregrine Ward is the personal attorney of Miss Harcourt. Okay, you know what? Let's talk with... Okay, Phoenix Knight makes a good point. I'm not going to weigh in on any of these because he has got a copy of this book and he can go through this adventure. So having him dictate what I do in this adventure might skew what he can do. So that's a good point. If anybody else wants to chime in, feel free. I'm going to go with Peregrine Ward, which is the attorney that we first met, and Isabel Harcourt, which is the niece of our guest. So they have a connection because he's the attorney for this guy, so he might know why we're here, and she, is his niece, so she might give us a clue as to why she's here as well. So 120 is what we're going to. Number 120. As you approach the corner of the room, you can see that Isabel Harcourt is in a state of high deluge, while Peregrine Ward has his back to you. The young woman's attention is fixed firmly on the attorney. As you draw closer to her, you can hear her say, "I can't believe he cut me off. I mean, what have I done to deserve that? You must speak to him again for me." When she becomes aware of your presence, she quiets down immediately. Seeing the shift in attention by the flicker of her eyes, Ward turns and takes a step away from Isabel. Take +1 clue, so we now have 2 clues, and we gain the secret cut off. So if anything asks us if we know about cut off, we know about cut off. We know that she has been cut off, and there is a whole list of, in the back of the book, there's a whole list of secret things that you can learn about, and one of the things we would check off is cut off. So if we later on, if we need to know about this, we know that he's cut his niece off of whatever inheritance she was going to get. Plus, we got a clue. "Is there something I can do for you?" the attorney asks. You offer Ward a polite smile and step forward. "Actually, yes, if you don't mind," you say, your tone conversational. "I've always found the law fascinating. Although I admit I know very little about it, you must deal with all kinds of situations. I imagine discreet and precision are your constant companions," you add as your eyes follow Isabel Harcourt as she makes her way to the drink trolley. The attorney regards you for a moment, then gives a curt nod. "That's one way to put it," he replies, launching into a brief but illustrated overview of his work: drafting trusts, managing estates, navigating inheritance disputes. As you speak, you ask thoughtful questions, prompting him to evaluate on key legal principles, the importance of precedents, the subtle art of negotiation. By the time the conversation winds down, you've gained enough to understand not just the mechanical, but the mindset behind legal maneuvering. Take the ability legal knowledge. You have just one more question to ask. So we gained a new knowledge. We have 2 skills. Okay, let's see if we can edit our sheet here now. This is going to get crazy. Let's see if I can. I don't know if I can actually edit this. Is this the sheet? Yes, Lola Hayes. Okay. So we now have 2 clues. How do we edit? God damn it, edit. Open with. Oh, wait a minute. We can't do it that way. Okay, I gotta go back. I gotta go to the downloads. We got to open with. Let's try to think about how the best way to edit this document is going to be. Add text. So we have 2. How do I increase the size of that? Alright, we got 2 clues. And I'm going to put in add text. Okay, we got a new ability called Legal Knowledge. Legal Knowledge. Okay. Legal Knowledge. We got 2 clues. And we know about there is no check mark, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that down as a we know about what is it we know about well, it's cut off. Yeah, that's right, cut off. Okay. Okay, now what I can do is I can save the new image. I know it's a lot of work. What can I say? Hang on a second. And what I can do is I can get rid of this and go to the image tab and put in the new image. And now you can see we have 2 clues. We have the legal knowledge ability, and we know down at the bottom cutoff, where we can put words down there at the bottom that we know now. Okay. You have one more question to ask. Go to page 220. 280. I'm sorry, 280. We have one more question we want to ask him. 280. 280. It's way deep. Okay. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go through this last thing, and I'm going to save it and then probably call it an episode. How long have we been going? We've been going an hour and 15 minutes, so yeah, we're going to probably end it after this. You open your mouth to speak, but before you can answer, a bell rings somewhere in the house. Not the butler interrupts the conversation. Mr. Harcourt is ready for you now. If you'd like to make your way into the study. He indicates a set of closed double doors across the hall from the parlor. The 7 of you dolphinly troop across the hall, led by Horace Trenholm. Rattling the handle of one of the doors, he announces, "It won't open. It's locked." "Excuse me, sir," says Mr. Knott, remaining impassively calm. "Let me try." He confidently tries the door himself, and his unflappable facade slips for the first time. "You are right, sir." He taps on the door with a knuckle. "Mr. Harcourt, sir, are you all right?" There comes no reply. "Is there another way in or out of the study, you ask?" Stepping forward. "There are windows to the garden," says Knox, a look of bewilderment on his face, "but Mr. Harcourt always keeps them locked." "Harcourt!" barks Trenholm. "What are you playing at? Let us in!" If you have the rogue ability or the weakness criminal, turn to page 295. If you don't, turn to page 195. Well, we don't have rogue. And we don't have criminal. We do have calling card, so we can take any ability as a one-time. So we could take rogue if we wanted to. I don't think so. I think we're just gonna go to 195 and see where it takes us. 195. And together you tell Tenholm, taking hold of the handle of one of the doors. On 3. 1, 2, 3. The two of you slam your weight against the door again and again. Finally, the wood around the lock splinters and the doors fly open, causing you to half stumble into Harcourt's study. However, gaining access to the room has not been without cost. You are jarring your shoulder, take -1 health. Turn to page 111. And I think, to be honest, that is going to be a perfect time to stop it, so we're not going to know what's going on with Hargrove. We don't want to spoil or anything. I think now we'll just stop at page 111. I'm going to put a little mark in my book. Again, this is part of the series of Arkham Horror Investigator game books. Thanks to Phoenix Knight for sending this to us. Be sure to leave a comment in the comments section thanking Phoenix for sending this to us. Without him donating it to us, we wouldn't have this, so it's always a great pleasure to show off and look at new cool things. So, again, I'm not a super RPG kind of guy. I don't do too much of it, but every once in a while, it's always good to jump in a story and see what's going on with it. So, I think now is a great time to call it, and I look forward to having part 2 tomorrow. My friends, take it easy, have a good night, we'll see you soon. Thanks to Phoenix for sending this to us, and we'll see Barbara and Phoenix and Richard Kerr and everyone else hopefully tomorrow. I think we'll probably pick this up, probably a couple times in the next couple days, just to keep things going and see where it goes. So, we finally busted in. Why was the door locked? Why didn't he answer? Is something wrong with him? What's going on there? We did lose 1 health, so I do have to remember to mark that off my sheet for next time. Somebody remind me to do that. But, questions are, what's going on in there? Again, we could go through this because it might tell us what's going to happen, but I think right now is a great time to leave the story, end of the chapter and start the next chapter where you find out what's going on next time. So thanks everyone for coming out. Thanks for watching. See you later.